What's up, everybody? Going live with Alex from Cognizance. Let's try to get some people in here. What's going on, guys? Let's see here. There he is. And accept.
Yo.
Hey. That was probably the smoothest I've ever been able to get anybody to actually join one of the live
Mate,
streams.
I'm not gonna lie, for a second when I joined, I was just like, fuck, like where's the actual button? Like I can see that I'm watching, and I was almost ready for it to be one of those moments where like I message you, I was like, mate, how do I actually join this thing? But I'm glad it was seamless, man.
Absolutely. The ongoing joke is that I just constantly run into technical issues with this.
I mean that like as far as like streaming, and I mean I have a really limited knowledge for it, but I'd imagine this is probably like as straightforward as it gets, like as simplistic as it can be.
It should be.
What sort of issues have you had with it?
Honestly, it's really weird. Like, just me not being able to send people invite requests despite there being an option to do so. It will not let me, like, I can send them and people will sit there and try to accept it, but it won't actually bring them in. It's so weird. Like, they have to request to join.
Well, at least it's not a user error, because like in my case, it's usually me that's doing it wrong, you know. But yeah, glad we were able to get up smooth sailing today.
Oh yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw Jason Sukoff join us.
Yeah, man. Jason's a good buddy of mine. We talk on FaceTime quite a bit. He's he's a hero. Got a lot of time for the man in the chair.
Dude, one of the best metal producers ever.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart, man. He's a sick guy. I love Jason. We went to, like, we kind of talked for years and years now, and then last year I was actually going to Florida on a family holiday, and I was gonna go down to Audio Hammer to see Jason for a day or so, and then of course everything in the world went up in smoke, so that wasn't on the cards anymore. But so I'm hoping that maybe not next year, but the year after I'll get out there, because I know a lot of you guys in the States don't always like Florida, but I think Florida's sick, man. Like,
I love Florida. I got family down there.
Whereabouts are you based in the States?
Yeah.
Whereabouts though, dude?
I live in West Virginia, which is probably really surprising to a lot of people. But
like, what's West Virginia like, man?
We're not very well represented in like a lot of like movies and television. I'll give you an example of why we have bad stereotypes. Have you heard of like the Hatfield McCoys?
No, sir.
No, it was a big family feud, like post Civil War. Have you seen Wrong Turn or Deliverance?
I feel like I've seen Deliverance many moons ago. Maybe not Wrong Turn, but Deliverance definitely rings a bell.
Yeah, a lot of inbred jokes, and it is like a very the whole state is very rural. Lots of mountains, lots of like wooded areas. Even like our bigger cities really are, you know, they're nothing crazy.
Well, funny you say about like inbred jokes. So like the town that I live in, so I live in a relatively like rural area myself, which, you know, I really like living near just like countryside and kind of that scenery. Like, I'm not really a city guy, but the town that I live in is notorious for its inbred jokes. There's like certain estates that like, you know, it's
Yeah.
meant to be rife. And you have all these mutants that populate the town. But
Yeah.
so I feel you on that front, man.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just maybe just weird city urban stereotypes towards people that live in the country, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's all that bad air that they've been breathing up by living in the city. It's sending them crazy. They're just jealous that it's a little bit cleaner out here, that's all.
That's it. They're just jealous. They just don't understand us.
Nah, man.
In my experience, people in the South or people in the country, at least here in the States, tend to just be a little bit friendlier. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I mean, I live like north in the UK, which kind of for context, like I'm maybe about 3.5 hours away from London, sort of thing, which, you know, doesn't sound very far, but remembering how small like the UK is, like it's that's a bit of a distance here.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I live in Yorkshire, in North Yorkshire to be precise, and like I'd say people out here are pretty friendly. But the thing is about out here is like when you get those boozed up Brits when they've got the liquor in them, man, like, you know, we're notoriously rowdy. So I was in Leeds today, and already kind of like around about 5 o'clock, the town starts getting, or the city, should I say, starts getting pretty rowdy, man. But yeah, we don't do ourselves any favors with that stereotype. Being big drinkers.
Damn. Yeah, I've heard that stereotype. We get the stereotype of being moonshine, like, you know,
Right, okay.
moonshine runners and stuff, which rightfully so. it's a pretty big thing. But, I've actually had an awful lot of guests on here from the UK, and everybody is just overwhelmingly polite and pleasant. I just got to meet John Cook from Napalm Death, not last night, night before, and we did like it was kind of a brief interview. It won't be as kind of like laid back as this because we were just kind of hanging outside their bus and stuff, but because normally these are just kind of like hangout chats, and we just kind of shoot the shit for however long.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, nicest dude, and a lot of the people I talk to on here from the UK. It makes me honestly really want to go visit, like really bad.
I mean, you know, the classic saying is good manners cost nothing, and you know, I think we, for the most part, we try and be polite and well mannered out here, but not everyone follows by that same ethos, you know. But have you ever been to the UK before, dude?
I've never been to the country.
Yeah, like, you know, London's definitely a must visit. There's a lot of great places to check out in the UK, but certainly, like, you know, from a tourist point of view, London's awesome. I'm going there in a few weeks' time, so I'm looking forward to it. There's one street, I can't remember what it's called. I'm sure there'll be someone screaming at me right now, but it's just full of guitar stores, man. There's just loads of guitar stores, literally like over the road from each other. And there's like I'm sure there's like a few vintage stores there as well, where you can pick up some like really old school, obscure shit. But yeah, man, like if you're ever in the UK, give me a shout, and obviously make sure you bring your jacket, man, because it's pretty cold out here for the most part.
That's what I've always heard for sure. Which we kind of get every extreme here in like West Virginia. We're kind of, I don't know, we're not southern. We're kind of like, I don't know, middle of the East Coast, like a little bit towards the middle of the East Coast. So crazy hot, muggy summers, crazy cold, snowy winters, and everything.
Do you get a lot of snow in the winter then?
Last year was really bad.
Really? And like, I imagine if you live in like a rural area, you feel it even more, man. Like, it gets pretty dangerous out there.
it's weird. We've had winters where I don't even know if we even saw any snow.
Uh-huh.
And then we have some where it's like, I end up missing work for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's West Virginia weather is insane. Um, it'll be hot and sunny like one day, and then the next day you'll actually have snow. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. I think if I had my choice of weather, I'd probably be a sunny all year round kind of climate, really. I mean, of course, if I got to that point, I'd be like, oh, resenting it. But right now, I'll take anything over, like, I mean, it's not that cold at the moment, it's getting there, but like when it's getting dark, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon sort of thing,
Yeah.
you just feel like the day kind of ends there, it's a real drag. But yeah, like I'd definitely take a sunnier climate over what it's like over here.
Oh, for sure. But I bet everybody's kind of champing at the bit for some gear talk. So why don't
Yeah,
we go
sure,
ahead and
man.
knock that all the way? We'll do a little walkthrough of your setup here.
Yeah, dude, sure. So, I mean, where do you want to start with, like, guitars? I've got
Yeah.
So, this one I got on my lap here is Ibanez 3-1 RGD 3127, I believe, which I got it. So I got it like earlier this year, and like I kind of just shelved it, man. I basically got it on a whim because some other dude mugged me off on this other RGD that I really wanted. And I saw this one and I kind of just like knee jerked and bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I got it, man, I was like, it looks killer, but all these recent Ibanez, like the fret ends, they're not sharp. They're just like really square and like,
Yeah. They just cut them off like right there at the edge. And
yeah. Whereas like
yeah.
my earlier Ibanez, like the fret ends are like rounded.
Mm-hmm.
So like I got this one, I got a good deal for it, and I just kind of like was a bit bummed out by the feeling of the fret, so I kind of parked it. And then like about a month ago, I finally got it set up because it was in A, so I got it set up to B because these guitars just sound amazing in B, having like the 26.5 scale, which I personally think all 7 strings should be, man. Like they sound so much better. They play great. They hold like the intonation and kind of like if you're doing slightly more advanced, like extended like chords or something like that, they just sound amazing. So yeah, dude, I got it set up and the pickups that came in it, like they're called Damasio Fusion Edges, which it's like a pickup they just make for Ibanez.
Yeah.
Which it's kind of like, well, you could have just put one of the sick Damasio models in, not these. Yeah. Like, they sounded all right, but last night, my friend just put in this Damasio Super Distortion in the bridge, so I'm just kind of getting used to that. It sounds a lot better than what was in there, but I'm thinking of maybe going old school and going to EMGs, man. Yeah, dude. I think like I've done my dance with the passives for a long time now, and I think like our other guitarist Paul, he's got an ESP-M2, and he just brought it back from his parents' place, and we were playing it recently, and that's got EMGs in it. I was like, it sounds great, man. You remember like there was a period of time where like so many metal bands were using EMGs before there was kind of like all these other companies that were doing similar things, and EMG was like the tried and true.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a reason why so many people were using them, because they sound sick. Like,
sure.
Do you have EMGs in any of your guitars?
I got them in my my Eclipse, which I love it, and I actually got a 24-volt mod for the EMGs, which it's subtle, but it makes them just sound louder and little bit more headroom.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard it gives them a bit more headroom. It's something I've always wanted to do. Like, I think the last guitar I had EMGs in, well, I had like an Eclipse for a very brief period. Eclipse is like the Les Paul shaped one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked that up in a trade for a comparison that I had, and it had the EMG set and it had the Floyd Rose as well. It was
Oh, cool.
oh mate, it was a really cool guitar, and like I can't remember what I got rid of it for, but that had EMGs in it. But the only other guitar I've had relatively recent, last few years, was I had an Ibanez S2170, which is like the super thin one.
Okay.
And it put EMGs in that, but like the dude who did it, like the battery wouldn't really fit in it. So like the jack that normally it would go in here, and like the battery was kind of like in that space. So then like the actual input jack had to go where like the tone pot was on the front of the guitar. It wasn't the slickest execution, but I remember it sounding great. I went like the 81 and the 60 in the neck, I think. That's the het set, isn't it?
The 8160?
Yeah, he's an 8160 guy, isn't he?
So I ended up looking it up because I've contemplated getting the headset. He was always an 8160 guy. The actual headset that they sell now is like a tweaked version of the 8160. So it actually is different.
Okay.
It's a little bit more gain for one thing.
Interesting. I might have to check that out. Like I say, I'm just kind of starting to look at EMGs again. I remember like a long time ago, I had a Schecter Hellraiser that had like the 707s in. Now I always thought those were like, they sounded good, but they were really, really bassy.
Yeah.
So I think I'd try like the 81-7 if I was to go down the road again.
Definitely.
So this guitar is probably like one of the, so of all the ones that I've got right now, I've had this one the longest. So it's an Ibanez 1527 Z. So it's got the zero edge trem on there, which is kind of like, because the 1527 has been around since like the early noughties, I believe. And then like the last run of them had the zero edge on, which I way prefer versus like the trems that normally come on the Ibanez. But this one, like it's like set so tight that the trem's just like unusable because it's just a rhythm guitar, really. And then dude, like I've made a lot of records with this trusty guitar. I've kind of like had it in a case for a bit recently, and I'm just hoping that the absence kind of makes me kind of fall in love with it again, you know.
Right.
But dude, it needs a setup so bad. But again, it's got a Damasio deactivator in the bridge, and I think it's a Damasio Blaze I've got in the neck. But like I say, mainly it's a rhythm guitar. It's really dark sounding because of the basswood body.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I've played a lot with this, and I kind of really know it, and it's just good memories, man, from all the ideas and time that you've kind of spent with it, sort of thing.
Sure.
What else have I got? So I got this beautiful RG752, which I've had, must be going on nearly a couple of years now. I imported it from the States, from a dude that was selling it because I think I just found these like not long after they discontinued them. And again, it's kind of got like that same thing where like the shape of the frets is like really square, so it's compared to like the black one, it's not the most comfortable, but in terms of like how it looks, man, like definitely my ideal guitar. I would say like it's It's a slick look for sure. In terms of the pickups, I got like Damasio Imperium in the bridge, which is the Dave Davidson SIG, which like I love his tone, man, but I'm not sure if it works in this guitar. Like it just sounds kind of underpowered. So maybe I need something just a little bit hotter. And it just sounds like a bit thin. So it might just be kind of like, you know, the woods, the style of the guitar and everything like that. So I might kind of go, like I say, something a little hotter. Maybe deactivators are usually pretty good, or maybe even try EMGs in this one.
Sure.
But yeah, dude, like this guitar is killer. I love this one very much. I'd really like the because they make like not a desert red. That's this one. It's something red. It's basically this guitar, but with like a really loud red finish, and it looks incredible, man. But
I'd be all over that.
Yeah, dude. It like you say they seem to come up in the States all the time, and it's like in the UK with normal import charges was brutal, but now the fact, because of the fucking mistake we made going through Brexit, like now anything that you import from Europe, you also have to pay a charge on. So to get cool shit out here, man, it's like getting really, really expensive. Like shipping alone is a fortune, never mind then kind of like your import charges. So it's yeah, dude, it's a bit of a bummer. And you guys in the States definitely get all the cool shit next to the Japanese markets.
The Japanese get the coolest shit though. Like
yeah, there's some wild stuff. Like sometimes if I'm looking at guitars, I'll be like looking on Reverb or eBay, and like you'll just see something that comes up with like a really random like price point. Then you click it and you're like, oh, it's in the US or it's in Japan. And there's a guy, last time I looked, there was a guy in Japan. It must be a shop, and they were selling like maybe 2 or 3 J Customs, but like they were really cheap. They were like £1,200, I think.
Oh, wow.
So that's maybe about like $1,800 perhaps, which is a great price for a J Custom. That's like certainly one on the list for me one day. Like, have you ever played one before?
A J Custom? No.
Like I played one in Amsterdam of all places. I have no idea what the model was. But yeah, dude, it was a J Custom, and like the only thing that felt like different was like the neck felt a bit slicker and higher quality. But to be honest with you, man, like some of the gold and Ibanez Prestiges that I played, like the really, really sick ones, like they're good enough in my opinion. So it's kind of just like it's a bit of a status thing, man. Like a bit of an accomplishment having a guitar of that caliber, I would say. What else have I got? I got this. What is it? I always get this one wrong. So it's an RGR 465 with a soda, the soda blue with the reverse headstock. So like, I think they've done this guitar maybe 3 times now. So like, there's a new Genesis run out at the moment. And then this is like the second run, so it's not an original. I wish it was. And to be honest with you, mate, like I got this guitar and it's got like the thinnest, it's got a crazy thin neck, man, which is great. It feels like a kind of mid-90s Ibanez, kind of similar sort of neck shape to like the Frank Gambale ones, I would say. But yeah, dude, I got this and I've just never got it set up, which is really bad. It's got a deactivator in the bridge. I don't know what's in the neck. It's
maybe like an Aaron Norton or something.
Yeah, that quite possibly is the one. And it's got this really weird, that looks like a super cheap bridge. It's an Ibanez one, but I've not really seen it on any of the guitars. But it's pretty comfortable, but yeah, dude, I really should get this one set up. I don't know what you're like and how many guitars you have, man, but like I can't set a guitar up myself for toffee. Oh, nice. So it's always a case of having to go to someone, man, and like it's not that expensive. I really should make more of an effort to do it, you know?
For me, it depends on how extensive the setup I'm needing is. Like if it's a shit ton of work and there, like I can do an awful lot of different things, but I just don't have the time or patience to do a bunch at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, like you really have to carve out some time to do it. And I'm kind of one of those, like, well, when I've got the time, I'd rather just be playing guitar or making music. And I think the fanciest thing that I've done, and I say fancy in a really, really loose term, because I'm sure there'll be people on here who's like, God, this guy is fucking amateur. But I think the most advanced thing I ever did was I put the bridge pickup in this guitar, and with like a 5-pound soldering iron that was the cheapest piece of shit ever. And like when I was soldering it or trying to, the soldering iron didn't actually get hot like the tip of the iron. So like the shaft was like hot like here. So you can imagine me on like the kitchen table like trying to solder this guitar, and by a miracle it actually worked and sounded good. But that's as far as I can get with set. I can do intonation on a fixed bridge, but give me a floating trem or anything like that, I'd rather cut my nuts off, mate.
Yeah, I could do things like intonation and of course, you know, just adjustments of like action.
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty comfortable with pickup installation. I can't do like crazy, you know, the real crazy, like pickup selecting combinations and all that shit, you know, like the whole Steve Morse, like, oh, I got a 5-way switch and a 3-way switch. And
yeah, exactly. All them dials, man, like, and like you say, little switches. And I find like with some guitars, so like really high end stuff. So like I had a Music Man JP12 at one point, and so that had like the piezo system in it as well. And like when you opened it up, man, like I was just like, it was so neatly done. I was like, there is no way I'm touching this in this really expensive guitar. But yeah, dude, like really basic ones I would have a go at, but as well, like if it's an expensive guitar, I'd just be terrified of butchering the inside of it, man, you know?
I've taken one guitar that I've changed pickups out in to a professional tech afterward. And I can't remember if I needed them. I think there was something that I had them actually like, you know, look in and everything, electronic wise. And I'd love to have seen their reaction when they opened up the cavity to my fucking hack job and just the rat nest of wires I just shoved back in there.
No, I'd be one of those where like he's with a buddy in the stores, like in the other room, like opens it up and says, mate, you gotta come and see this. You gotta come and see this. But honestly, mate, I would be the same, and I would much rather, you know, when you think about how much a pickup installation or most basic setups are in the context of how much your instrument cost and how much you play it, like it's totally worth it, and it can completely change a guitar, like for the better. But yeah, I'd like to say there's some guitars I totally need to actually put my money where my mouth is with saying that. What else have I got, dude? So I have this Charvel DK24, I think it is, which is like a Mexican one. So it's got like the roasted maple neck, a Damasio. No, it's got Seymour Duncan full shred in the bridge.
Okay.
And it's, yeah, dude, it's a really cool guitar. Like, I purposely have like the action set a little bit higher because when I got this, I kind of wanted to be more like using it as a guitar that I was kind of like focusing on like my like chord work and like finger picking and stuff. So I wanted it to feel a bit different. So I would try and move away from my normal habits of playing and just have something that brings me out of my comfort zone a bit. Like, truth be told, I don't really plug this guitar in much. It's mainly one that like I just have in the living room and I'll just play on the sofa. But like it's a really, really cool guitar. Like, I think this is the first Mexican made guitar I've had, and I don't know if they're all like this, but like there's bits of like glue coming out from under the frets. There's you probably can't see it, so like where is it, like here there's like this kind of like, it's not like damaged, it's just like where the paint is just like kind of got a weird effect to it. Yeah. What else? When I got it, so I bought it brand new, and when it turned up, like all the springs in the back were just out. So like the bridge was like that, and I was just like, this is not a good start. But yeah, dude, it is a really comfortable guitar to play.
You didn't buy that new, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Wow, that is so surprising to me because Charvel has such a good like reputation, and me and a friend have actually been looking at a lot of Charvels and like kind of nerding out, sending each other cool ones lately.
Where are they made, and what like new ones?
Yeah, there were newer ones.
So like, I really didn't know what to expect. So like already when I got it, the dude, because he was like, oh, there's a dink. There's like an actual where like this shop or it's got knocked somewhere. So he was like, oh, I'll knock you some money off for that. And I was just like, all right, yeah, that's cool. So that brought the price down. Then when I got it and then I saw like all like the other issues with it, I was like, this is 100% should be a B stock guitar. Like this, just in terms of the finish, it's still great. And I'm not going to be a diva about it. But yeah, dude, it definitely kind of, like, this is not to sound like a snob or an asshole, but like this is the cheapest guitar that I bought in quite some time. And you were just kind of like, oh right, yeah, that's kind of why you pay a bit more for like other brands and stuff like that. But yeah, it's still a cool one. And then probably my favorite that I play is my Vigier Excalibur Supra. So this one is like a really kind of special guitar, dude. Like it's so the first thing is it doesn't have a truss rod. It's got like a part carbon fiber neck. Yeah. Which means that if you don't like low action, you're kind of screwed, man, because when I played this in the shop, like I instantly felt like a better player. It like made me play like just ease, man. Like just kind of like didn't need to have any like finger tension or anything like that. I like, funnily enough, so I live in this small town it's not shithole, but it's not the nicest town either. But they have a guitar store here, and you'd normally just think it was like your small local guitar store that just sells like, I don't know, starter guitars and kind of like basic bits of gear. But let me tell you, man, this guitar store sells some wild shit. So they sell like, they do a lot of US PRS, but they have a lot of private stock PRS as well. So I'm talking like $8 or $9 grand for like some of the more expensive ones. And like, they're fucking gorgeous, dude. Then they have a lot of Music Man stuff, and then they stock Vigier as well. So I like, I'd always wanted one of these, but they're made in France, and like they don't seem to churn out a lot of them. So like most stores seem to get like one unit of this guitar, one unit of that. So like at the time, going back a few years ago, I played one, then I went away and thought about it, and then when I went back to the store, it had gone. So I ended up buying a Prs Custom 24, like a 2014 one, and our vocalist Henry had like a PRS Custom 22, which I think was a 90s one, which was an amazing guitar. And the one that I got as a new one, like even though it was the thin neck and his was the thin neck, the necks were totally different. Mine looked incredible, but it just didn't play or sound that great. So then eventually I sold that and got the JP, and then after having the JP, and then Vigier came back in stock, I then got rid of the JP and then got this guy. But yeah, like if anyone gets the chance to play a Vigier, like I will 100% you know, recommend them trying it, because it's an incredible guitar, man. Like the trem, it's so it's like it doesn't sit in a cavity, but you can see that it's slightly cocked up. I don't know if you can see that. It's slightly cocked up a little bit, so you can get like a little bit of a pullback. Yeah. So basically, you can just have really light vibrato using the trem. And yes, Parks, of course we can get a shout out to Entities, my man, old school. But yeah, dude, like you can get that really sort of like alien sounding vibrato with it. And yeah, dude, like it's just an incredible guitar, really. Again, all Damasio's in here. Just keep it in E standard, and pretty much like all the solos for the most part that I've recorded in the last few years, I would use this guitar. So like on the latest album is pretty much all this guitar, and then maybe Paul did a couple of his solos on the yellow one, because like the neck is it's really low action, it's really comfortable to play, but it's quite a rounded neck. It's not like that flat. But like, do you like Sean Lane?
Love Sean Lane.
So Sean Lane's signature, like they had one in the shop. Huh?
That's the Sean Lane sig?
So no, this one isn't. I would love a Sean Lane sig, but I played it in the shop, and like the action was even lower than this one. And I was just like, you kind of, it's great that it's so low, but it's almost like if you put like your finger, like if you're barring or like barring to mute, and you like put your finger on the string that's a little bit too much, then it's definitely going to fret the note. So you need like make sure that you kind of really get used to the guitar and like precision and stuff. But this is probably the only guitar I've ever bought that I've actually gone up in value by like a significant amount. So I bought this for like $1,700, and I think they go for about $2,800 now.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And like that never happens, or at least with the guitars that I buy. Like maybe I've just been a dumbass in the past.
Right. It's kind of hard to find. I was watching a video talking about at what price point, and I guess sort of like what brands, and like new versus vintage. Trying to figure out what price point you can expect guitars to actually appreciate, which, you know, then makes it a worthwhile investment, like long term.
Yeah, it obviously varies like brand by brand, but I would say for the most part, it's just kind of like common sense. Buy a secondhand one that's in good shape at a good price, and like you shouldn't really be losing money. I think the best example I ever had of this, so we have like, you guys have got like Craigslist out there, right? Yeah. So we have like a UK version called Gumtree, and there was this dude, I assume he was a dude, there was a person on there selling Ibanez Prestige RG 1570. So it's like a really common guitar, but like they had it up for like £150, I think. And like, I was just like, well, there's no way you can say no to that. So I messaged them. I was just like, being cheeky as always and maybe like undercut him when there was really no need to do so. But yeah, they took the bait, and I was just like, okay, you okay to mail it out? Because obviously prestiges should all have the flight case. And it was like, oh, I don't have the case for this one. And I'm like, right, that makes me feel like this guitar is definitely stolen. And it showed up, like, I was super cautious because I've been fleeced on a guitar in the past, and it should happen to everyone, man. So you'll tighten up your security and make sure that it doesn't happen again. So it eventually turned up in this cardboard box, and like there was no padding in the box, man. So it was like a guitar box, and it was just like moving around in the box. And I was just like, didn't want to open it. And I opened it, and it was in flawless condition. Whoever it was had put DiMarzio deactivators in it, and I was like, wow, this was really meant to be. And it had like so it was like a blue color with like a sparkle finish to it, if you caught it in the right light. But yeah, that was a great find. But I don't know, man. I think that guitar's got questionable origins, but yeah, dude, that's one that I actually managed to make a decent amount of money on.
Damn, you don't get lucky that often, especially with going that route of purchasing.
Yeah, like you got to pick your battles with it. Like I can't remember who was telling this story to, but I remember. So you know the Ibanez K7, the Corn one.
Yeah.
Yeah, a classic guitar. So ever since I'd been like a young lad, I'd always wanted that guitar. And maybe about 10, 11 years ago, one came up on eBay, and it was also on Gumtree as well. And like, I've been talking to Henry about it because he was interested in it as well. And like I say, between us, we've had a lot of different guitars and amps and stuff. So we were both talking about it, and then I also saw the dude was selling it on Gumtree at a slightly lower price. So I messaged him, did the deal, sent him the money on PayPal, and then played the waiting game. So I'm really stoked for this guitar. I paid £450, which at the time was a hell of a lot of money to me. And, you know, 450 quid's 450 quid. No one wants to lose that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I was playing the waiting game, and I was really stoked about this guitar coming. And then like I was on the phone to Henry, and I was like, I don't know where this guitar is, man. And he was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I bought that K7. And he's like, you didn't buy it? And I was like, dude, I know what I've done. I bought the guitar. And he was just like, well, you can't have bought the guitar, mate, because it's sat here in my hands. And he bought it from the same dude, through eBay. And so he'd sold it to me on another site, taken the money, and fucking done one. And I was just like, oh man. Luckily I did it the sensible way on PayPal and didn't kind of send it family and friends, which you should never do, anyone listening to this. Don't let people try and fucking strong arm you into it, because it won't end well, man. And yeah, luckily I got the money back eventually, and then I ended up eventually getting that guitar in a trade as well. And it was just a bad luck guitar. I had that issue with not actually getting it. And then the dumbass who had it had, like, on the lock-in nut on the low B and E, he just tightened it so much that he threaded it. And so you couldn't actually lock the low B and E.
Yeah.
And this was, I don't think they do it anymore, but this is when like Ibanez, all the like locking nuts were like rear loading. So like you'd have a hole in two places through the neck. And they didn't make them in that color anymore. So I ended up with like all gunmetal gray hardware with a chrome nut, and it just looked really, really daft. So yeah, that was a bit of a bad luck guitar, man. But yeah, and then I've got a Warwick Corvette 4-string, which I can't play bass at all. We used that one on the new album. And Chris, who's been dropping messages in the chat, he butchered this bass because the low, the low B, like you couldn't. I don't really know what the deal was, but like you couldn't fit it in the saddle, I think is maybe the issue. So like he was having like hit it with like I think it was a dustpan and brush, because that was the only thing we had where we were recording to use as a hammer. So like you just hear him smashing this bass, and I was like, oh no, my guitar. But it worked, and it's a decent sounding bass. But yeah, man, I can't play for toffee, dude.
Yeah, I feel that.
Do you want me to talk through like other bits of stuff I've got, like amps and pedals and?
Sure, absolutely, man.
All right, man. So I'm just gonna move this guy. So I got an Engel Fireball up here, which is probably my favorite amp that I've got.
It's one of the new versions too, right?
Yeah, it is, man. It just like compared to the original, like this one just sounds better all around in my opinion. Like I didn't own the original, but I played it a couple of times, and I know it's like considered to be like a go-to, but this one is definitely an improvement on all fronts. And you know, needless to say, it looks fucking way cooler as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have that one. I've got the artist edition, 120, 100. It's the bigger one anyway. I have that, which again, like when I bought this, so I got both of these secondhand, but like the guy who I bought this one, the artist from, he put like rocket tubes. I don't know if you've heard of that brand before.
I don't think so.
But like he put rocket tubes in the preamp section, and when we were in Austria once, we played this amp, and it sounded pretty good, but like it didn't, you know, set the world alight. But then when Henry and I went to go try this one, it just sounded way more brutal, way hotter. It sounded killer. So I use this for like a lot of leads, and as well, like on the album, like the guitar sound is a profile of this amp. And then like in terms of when like I run my amps into the computer, I just use like the Fry-It power load, and then just kind of pick an impulse. But yeah, I really dig that amp. And then I got EVH 5153, and if it's too dark, just let me know. I can put the light on. Is that all right?
It's a little dark.
All right, let me put the light on. All right, okay.
There we go.
Yeah, dude. Like, honestly, since I got this, I've not really played it that much. I wish I could turn the camera around. Can you even do that on this?
Yeah. There's a button for it.
Holy shit, that is so much easier. Nice. So yeah, like this was a lockdown purchase. And like the guy that I got it from, he wasn't that far from here, but like there's not a mark on it, and I don't think he's really played it very much at all. It's a classic amp. I just think it's just maybe a little bit too hot for me. We were jamming a couple of months back, and I had this with my Diesel 212, and Paul was using so Chris, our bass player, has a Bogner Rubashol, and like he was using that, and it just completely wiped the floor with the EVH, man.
Wow.
But yeah, dude, it's great. I do plug it in from time to time, like in terms of like straight into the computer, but it doesn't get as much play as like the Engels do, really. And then like in terms of pedals, man, like I have a pedal board, but like it's really not set up to be like actual functioning pedal board. So I use the Pog quite a lot. I don't know if you've ever used one of those before.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. I just think like in terms of like odd moments, like just to kind of like, you can have it on really subtly. It doesn't have to be like a really over the top kind of like feature. It's got such a unique vibe to it. I think it sounds great. The whammy, like I pretty much only use the whammy on the detune mode. So like the shallow detune mode, I don't really use the actual like pitch shifting function on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the so this is a whammy 3, I
Yeah.
think. But yeah, the detune just kind of a gnarly chorus sound to it. So I use that quite a bit as well. And then this guy, have you heard of VFB pedals before?
Oh yeah, like they made like the ice cream or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, which is also a fucking awesome pedal. The ice cream's great. So yeah, this is the Focus, which I got quite a few years ago, and I know like he still makes some pedals, but it's not really like as VFE. He's more of like an educator now, I think. But again, this is a great boost pedal. It's like it's a little bit overcomplicated with like some of the switching in there, but like you find the sweet spot and like just
Sure.
yeah, it sounds awesome. And then like in terms of the pedal that I probably use the most is this
Oh yeah.
Zodiac Effects Andy Timmons. So I first found about the Zodiac Effects pedals when we recorded in Poland. I think that was the first time anyway. And they basically had this version, like the standard one that isn't the Andy Timmons one. And they were big fans of it, and we ended up using it, and it sounded awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of like other stuff, I use the Kemper a lot. It's just a super useful tool, man. Like you don't have to dick about turning amps on. It feels like an amp. You've got all the effects you want. And yeah, dude, like I've used the Kemper on and off for at least 10 years now. And like this is the powered one. I plugged it in a couple of times, but definitely just kind of having it as a studio tool is really useful. Then I use the Little Labs Red Eye, which is a great sounding DI and reamp tool. And then like the only other real piece of guitar gear is, like I say, the Friat Power Load, which again I use just from I go like amp to power load, and
Mm-hmm.
then into the Kemper, and I use the Kemper as a cab, and then like some effects, and then straight into the UA, and that's pretty much it, man. Like nothing too wild and fancy, I would say.
Oh yeah. Have you ever considered using the Camper Live?
I mean, to be honest, dude, like we don't really play live much at all, and like if we were playing live in the UK, I would definitely want to be using amp heads
Yeah.
over the Kemper. I mean, I've like updated it for the first time in years last weekend, and a lot of the updates that made like effects and stuff like sound amazing. So it's actually kind of getting closer, in my opinion, to like how good the Axe effects is for
Yeah.
effects. So I would definitely look to use it on that front. But like unless I was traveling abroad, like I'd probably just use an amp head, to be honest. Like yeah, dude, like I don't really use like a really complex setup like live. It's literally just amp, noise gate, boost pedal, and then like maybe something to just kind of get me over the hump, so to speak, when you're
Sure.
doing like a lead or something like that. But
Yeah.
I'm quite content with that setup, really.
Hell yeah. Oh, that's fucking killer. Um, if there was like one that you wanted to narrow down for kind of like the Cognizant sound, would you say be the Fireball or?
Well, like the sound on the album comes from the artist edition, but like there's quite a lot of stuff going on after the amp to kind of get it to sound the way that we did. I think a lot of the sound on the last album came from the RGD that we used. Okay. So we used Paul's RGD 2127Z, and like that guitar has got the secret sauce, man. Like, I don't know what the fuck it is with that particular one. It's got like a crunch lab in the bridge, and it just sounded fucking amazing. And we shot out the different amps here before we went and recorded. But yeah, dude, like that guitar was probably like the main thing of the sound. But when we were jamming recently, the Fireball sounded so much better than the Artist Edition, in my opinion. So like playing live or anything like that, I would definitely gravitate to the Fireball first, I would say.
Oh yeah. I played one of the old school ones. I'm still dying to try one of the new versions. Like from what I've seen, it looks like almost a whole new amp.
Yeah, man. The old one looks so dated now when like you see them side by side. You know, it's still a good looking amp, but definitely looks leagues apart from this one, you know. Absolutely.
Sound wise, I think it is too, but yeah.
Yeah, like I was using, when I plug it in, I normally have like, so it's got, I don't know if the old one had a mid boost on it, but like this one does, and like the mid boost, I like prefer the sound of it like on all the time. I'm sure there'll be some people that like really don't get that, but for me, it just kind of sounded fuller. But yeah, it sounds awesome. And like I say, the Artist Edition for leads is definitely the one. Sounds super creamy. And again, that's got like a shape button, which I would probably say like kind of gives you a bit of that mid-range kind of boost, and like the guitar solos, or at least the sound that I like, with like a really creamy kind of rich sound. Yeah, it does the job for that perfectly. And I did have many years ago, well, it was Henry's first, but we had a Savage Special Edition, which I think that was maybe like a late 90s amp or early 90s, because I know it went like Savage, then Special Edition, and then the Savage Special Edition then became the just Engel SEs, which I think there was two different versions of. But that thing was sick, and like I really regret selling that one. And it's a really rare amp. I saw one come up recently for the first time in ages, but it's basically an Engel Savage, but just had a few extra toys on it. I don't think in terms of like the tone there was any difference. There was just a lot of extra features, and you could MIDI program it, but you'd need like an extra module to do that with. But that amp I miss a lot, and the Savage is just sounds incredible, man. It's definitely a classic amp. And I'm waiting for it to be dispatched, but there should be the Engel Iron Ball Special Edition on the way here as well. Mate, like there's just so many features on it, and I'm stoked to just have a little amp that I can just plug straight in, and it's got literally everything. And I think in terms of like gigging and like practicing, recording, dude, it's like the perfect mix of like a digital piece of kit and an analog amp. So I'm really stoked for that to get here, and I'm sure it sounds great as well.
I can't remember, did they collaborate with Two Notes at all on that one? Kind of like the Rev D20 and G20?
I honestly don't know. I like, as far as I'm aware, it's like all Engel engineered.
Okay. But conceptually, it's pretty similar to those heads. Like it's, like 20 watt, has its own built-in load box, and does it have? It's been a minute. I remember all the videos when it came out, and I watched a couple. Can you load IRs into it? Or?
Yeah, you can. So I think there's maybe 2 or 3. There's definitely some Engel presets on there, and then the remainder of the bank you can put in whatever you want. which is super appealing to me to be able to do that rather than have to kind of like run it into my Kemper, because for some reason like my computer, whenever I do it, that when I monitor with a cab in my door, it just doesn't like it. So I have to try and do all of that before it actually hits the machine. But yeah, it has that. And of course, it's got like the effects as well, MIDI programmable. What else has it got on it? I feel like there's some other shit that we're probably missing, but yeah, man, I've never seen like a back plate on a small amp be that like full of different features.
Right. That's awesome. I really need to, realistically, because I'm not playing out in any bands right now. I haven't for quite some time. I ought to try to sell off some of this like wall beside me and get something more like that to be a little bit more practical. But
can I see your amps, dude? What have you got?
you make sure the light doesn't get in the way here. So right there is this crate that I picked up. A buddy of mine actually got it for me and held on to it, and you know, cleaned the pots and just, you know, spruced it up for me. It's a GX 600. Kind of like those what was it, the 140Cs or whatever. It's like Crate's version of those of like the Ampeg VH140C.
Yes. And is that Crate solid state then? I really don't
Yeah.
know a lot. Like I see, you know,
Yeah,
like a lot of the old school, or at the time, a lot of them were using that.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's solid state. That's when Crate and Ampeg were all like both owned by the same company. So they would Crate would have a lot of the same designs as Ampeg. Like if a lot of people really like the Ampeg VL1000 something. It was a Lee Jackson amp. If you can find a Crate Stealth, it's the same amp, just maybe it's probably made a little cheaper, to be honest, but they're pretty much the same thing. My buddy, he has a YouTube channel called Dreadful Goose. He actually has one of those Crate Stealths, and he loves it. Now they're old.
It looks pretty sick, dude. Like,
yeah,
Stealth looks awesome. Loving the little kind of like purple strip on there.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. The Ampegs even kind of looked the same. So I mean, it was like a subtle nod. Like there are, and even like this one, there are subtle nods to the Ampeg versions. But for whatever reason, people sleep on them. I paid $200 for that thing shipped.
Wow.
Yeah, and my buddy Paul, he runs a Gremlin machine shop. He builds really, really cool looking pedals, but he just, you know, did some work on it for me because it's, you know, it's an old amp.
Yeah. What year is it, do you think?
Gosh, I don't even remember. I really, it's mid to late 90s.
Okay.
And then above that is my, is my pride and joy amp that I've talked myself out of selling it countless times. It's a mid-90s Revision F dual rectifier.
Isn't that the one, right?
Yeah.
Well, surely you shouldn't sell it.
No, I can't.
Yeah, man. I don't know a lot about like all the different revisions, but like from what I've heard, like mid-90s is kind of like the golden era of them.
Oh, for sure.
When we were in Poland, we recorded with the guy from Vader's Dual Rec, which is like a 2-channel mid-90s one. And that sounded fucking awesome. Like normally I'm not a huge like rectifier guy, but like that one sounded great.
Yeah. And like that one, I plugged into it just like straight in. Well, I had a noise gate, but basically plugged straight in the other day just because it's been a while, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this sounds way better just straight up than I remembered. You know, it
Yeah,
always
man, I love
catches me
it
off
when you have
guard.
that moment you're not plugged in for a while and you just play like one chord and you're like, fuck, that sounds so good, so satisfying.
Yeah, and it's throwing an overdrive in front of it. It just like it's 90% there without it, but throw an overdrive in front of it, and it's perfect.
What
Uh,
uh what overdrive would you normally use with it, dude?
I've got a couple. Uh, so let me grab it here. Um, I've got a few pedals made by a few different friends. Mainly, most of my board is Michael Klein Audio and Lone Wolf Audio.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Both are awesome, and I love Joe and Michael to death. But Michael built me this. Let me get the glare off of it here. This is he calls it the Chrysogrim.
Okay.
And I did mine in typo negative. So you have like
Yeah,
the little
man.
black number one.
That's sick. That's the color scheme right there, man. Excellent taste.
Hell yeah. And typo is sort of like mine and my wife's band,
Mm-hmm.
sort of. So it was just kind of a cool little nod. But yeah, the Chrysogrim it's everything from a clean boost all the way to your full blown distorted rhythm tone, like in anywhere in between. Of course, I tend to use it like a lot of us use overdrives in front of a gain down amp.
Yeah.
You know, crank the level and minimal, gain.
Yeah.
But it's got like a level, a gain. This knob is his attack knob. It's kind of how tight and aggressive you want it.
Uh-huh.
And then a 3-band EQ. So I mean, it is a very versatile dirt pedal. I can kind of go anywhere in between with that, and it's specifically tailored kind of more towards the sounds I like, like the rectifier.
Uh-huh.
And then he
That,
also,
I was gonna say that pedal sounds like a lot of fun, man. Like
it is
definitely a lot to play with on it.
for sure. He also made another one that he doesn't. I mean, I'm sure if you asked him nicely, he would make one, but it's not like one that he advertises that he sells.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even have a name. It's just something. I asked him just sheer curiosity if he ever fucks with, like the TC Electronics like preamp or like the Fort and Grind or the Fort and 33 pedals, like that circuit, that clean boost circuit.
Yeah.
I just, me and him were talking. I was like, you ever fuck with that kind of circuit? Like, have you made anything like that or been curious to? And he's like, it's funny you should ask. I made one just for fun. And he was already building me my noise gate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, so I'm just going to, so, you can have this too if you want it.
Wow, that's awesome, mate. Like, definitely gonna have to check his stuff out because, like you say, that one looks killer. And if you're giving it a strong recommendation, then always down to try a new OD or distortion pedal.
I got to show you the noise gate he built too.
Do it, man.
So we're just kind of nerding out at this point. And then I'll so that pedal and these are like the 3 pedals I would have to have on my board if I were to go play a show. Obviously a tuner, and I'm not too picky about those, but like these 4 pedals, like 4 pedals would do it for me. But so this is my he calls it the ball gag noise gate.
Mate, that is a big pedal for a noise gate, man. Like,
yeah, but it's meant to actually.
That finish is sick.
Oh yeah. He did a green crackle
fuck yeah.
It was originally just supposed to be identical to the Christogram, but then he started doing these crackle finishes, and you know, we kind of had to. He even did it on the knob.
Mate, I love a crackle finish, man. Like,
and everything dies.
yes.
Had to keep with the typo theme.
Have you seen that? Have you seen? I can't remember what channel it is. I'll dig it out. But there's a dude. I'm sure he's a British guy, and like his kind of theme of his channel is like he'll look at classic albums and like he'll try and recreate like the guitar tones. Have you seen the typo one that he does?
Yep, I think he's done two now. He did one, and then he revisited. I think the second one he did was the World Coming Down album.
Right.
Because I remember it was really cool. He was having a hard time getting the guitar tone just right because he figured it out. It was a dual rectifier, but they also ran through like this studio preamp, this solid state studio preamp or something.
Now, what was that called? Because I was looking into that as well, and like you could get them now like really, really cheap, and I think a lot of the sound comes from that.
I'd have to go back. I got to go back and revisit it now.
Yeah, I'll have to check it as well, because for me, it's like some of the like effects on like the overdubs and stuff, where it kind of sounds a bit like a quad chorus, but like really unique, is like one of my favorite like kind of guitar sounds ever. Like, and I've tried to rip it off so many times, but still just can't quite get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that guy's channel is great.
Oh, I love it. I kind of wish he'd do more death metal, but he's kind of covered all the classic death metal bands at this point.
I've literally only seen the typo one, so I'll have to go back and watch some death metal ones for sure.
Oh yeah, it was a few years ago, but he did a like an entire December where I think like at least every week or something he did a different death metal band.
Okay.
And he did everybody from like Entombed, Dismember, Obituary, Morbid Angel. But he did like old school Morbid Angel. I'd like him to do, instead of Altars of Madness, I'd like him to do more like Covenant era or something, like when they went to 7-string.
Yeah, man, for sure. That would be tight.
Sorry, I'm gonna shout out this one more pedal real quick.
Yeah, of course.
So this thing is like 6 or 7 different effects in one.
Right.
My favorite setting so far is I like the delay. It's almost like a very vintagey sounding digital delay.
Okay.
I think he makes a pedal that's just this effect by itself, called the VHS delay. But this is the Void. Hang on. There you go.
That looks killer.
Yeah, which this finish I think was like a limited thing he was doing.
So is that like got a textured feel to the finish then?
Yeah.
Or is it... Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think he calls it Ice Vein.
Sorry, what did you say?
I think he calls it like an Ice Vein finish or something. But yeah, dude, this thing, the delay itself sounds killer, but the way he has it wired, it automatically will boost the signal. And I think it's just kind of hardwired to do that. Like it automatically is just like a level boost.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep that in the loop, and it is just kind of like my lead boost,
Yeah, dude, that's kind of like what I'm looking for, really. If I was like, I'm hoping that I can get away doing it easy enough when I get the iron ball, but like you say, with for a lead pedal, you want something that's going to actually give you a boost and effects at the same time, rather than having to do a bit of tap dancing depending on what your setup is. But for me, those pedals are like super useful. I try to do it all in one, and you can kind of carve your sound a bit easier as well.
Definitely. And I do believe, yeah. So he has this, and I think the VHS delay that both kind of do that thing. And then Michael Klein makes a pedal called the Lonely Ghost that a lot of people are really getting hip to.
Okay.
And it's a lead boost, delay, and a reverb all in one.
Sick. I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. Like that's definitely something that I need, without a doubt.
Right. Oh, by the way, that little power amp up top.
Uh-huh.
It's a TubeWorks MOS valve power amp. It's a MOSFET driven power amp.
Okay.
It's rated at 80 watts, but being MOSFET transistor, it's tone wise as well as like, because you know how solid state amps are. If you like, that's a 60-watt solid state amp that is going to get eaten alive by a 100-watt tube amp.
Uh-huh.
Well, the 80 watts MOSFET, it actually holds up really, really well to like a 50, 100-watt tube head, both sound wise and like handling volume. It's pretty impressive.
Sick. I don't think I've heard of that particular unit before. I'll have to check it out, man. Like in terms of like solid state gear, I mean, I think the last thing I had, what I don't even know if this truly counts. I mean, that really it should do. I had the Randall V2.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think the V2 is the one with the 2 rows of knobs rather than the 1 row of knobs. But I had that a few years back, and man, that was an awesome sounding amp. The only thing was, again, when you were like practicing, and like I was the other guitarist at the time, he was using again the Uberschall, and like they just didn't kind of stack up, man. Like if you were both using the Randalls, I'm sure it would have sounded great, but it felt and sounded like really thin in comparison. But like razor tight tones, man, like it had its own feeling to it for sure. That was a great sounding amp, and like I say it's kind of solid state, although it's that gimmick where like there's like maybe 1 tube in the preamp or something like that, and it's like, does that really make that much of a difference? You know, like who knows?
Yeah, Randall were on a kick with those hybrid amps there for a minute.
Yeah, because there's quite a few of them, isn't there? Because there was there was those two, and then one of the Amott brothers had one, didn't he?
The Ninja, I think.
Yeah.
Is called.
And was there another one? Was there a Fear Factory one? Or did I imagine that?
I can't remember, honestly.
I'm gonna have a look now. So I know, so there was the Randall Ninja V2. So that was the Michael Amott one. Randall. I think I might be talking shit, you know. Oh no, there was the Archetype.
Oh, that's cool.
That was the Christian Older Warblers one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking of like signature gear that Dino's had, and I was like, I don't remember him having a Randall. Christian though, yeah, okay, that makes sense because he was like, did he play Washburn at one time? I can't remember.
Jackson.
Yeah,
he had the signature Jackson, didn't he?
Yeah, the COW.
Yeah, which if I remember rightly was a weird like color or something.
They had a bunch of colors of that one. They had a really weird, like yellow and like olive green camo finish.
Yeah, that might be what I'm thinking of. I feel like I remember seeing one that like had a stripe in like the middle of the body or something like that, like across where the pickups were. But yeah, he had that. But to be fair, like when I saw, I mean, it was really late. I think I saw, I think it was 2009. I saw Fear Factory, and they sounded fucking incredible. They sounded so good. It was like an outdoor festival here, and I'm sure Dino was using pods But it
Yeah,
just
probably.
sounded fucking super tight and punchy, really brutal. And of course, he did. I think we were playing Replica, and he did that signature kick in it as well, which is that cheese factor, man, was just the icing on top of the cake.
I always like that they've never really shied away from the whole tech side of things, as far as like gear or sampling or whatever. Like they
Yeah,
just kind of fully embrace that.
yeah, man, absolutely, it works for them.
Well, so I actually got like a whole little list here, but we really haven't had to use it a whole lot. When as far as shaping your tone and what you're going for, like where are you kind of drawing inspiration from with that? Like, is it
Uh,
specific album tones or anything like that, or?
I think I think it's really hard because like you can go down the rabbit hole of like saying I want a guitar tone like this from this specific album, but like you're just trying to take like a tiny fragment of like a overall picture of how everything fits together. And like we've all done it when you send, you know, you're sending your album off to be mixed and mastered. You like there's like a reference of all these different tracks for like I want this drum sound from this album, this guitar tone from this, and like it doesn't always work that way. So I guess for me, I mean, I like a tone that's pretty dark, that's got quite a lot of mid range to it. I'd say quite a lot of mid. I would say not too gained out either. I mean that some dudes now seem to be playing with literally like fuck all gain, so maybe my sound is quite high gain in comparison to that. But for this record, I guess the main thing was like I really wanted to have a sound that would like capture the intensity of like the pick attack,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just have a lot of definition there. And certainly like on some of the like the trem parts, it really got there. And it's kind of, I think I'd done a lot between albums, a lot of like work on like my positioning on the bridge to kind of like get the sweet spot to get that sound. But yeah, dude, like I think just quite a dark sound, a lot of mid, pretty tight, and a lot of it just kind of comes to like the guitar.
Cool.
Um, you know, you can have like an amazing, you might be in a room with someone and they're playing a tone and it sounds monstrous, and then you pick up the guitar and it sounds like a piece of shit, and that's just not right for your hands. And I think for this album as well, the main kind of goal with the guitar sound was to like get what we wanted going in and like try avoid reamping at all costs, because again, in my opinion, like when you reamp, you lose, like you play the guitar to suit that tone and that sound, and then when you put it through a completely different rig, like you aren't interacting with it the same way as you did originally.
Right.
You know, sometimes it comes out great, but there's been times where like I've had reamps in the past and it's kind of like, oh, I wish we just stuck with what we originally did, or we spent a bit more time on the original tone up front. So yeah, we like so spent quite a bit of time trying to get the sound that we wanted, and I'm pretty stoked where we ended up. But as I say, that Ibanez RGD, a lot of it definitely comes from that guitar.
That's killer. Absolutely. And that's the, sorry, just for reference, is that the 26.5 one?
Yeah, dude, it is. So
Okay.
like I say, I think factory they come all in A standard, I think. But when you tune them up to B and you use like just a standard 7-string set, the tension is perfect, because like for me normally those 7-string sets, like they're a little bit light, um, and especially like the low B, like it needs to be a few gauges higher for me. It just doesn't really cut the mustard. But with the extra tension, like it's pretty much the perfect set for that guitar. So yeah, man, 7 strings should always be 26.5s in my opinion.
I I wish I have one 7-string. It's an Ibanez RG. I wish it was I'd say 26 or 26 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to find so many workarounds and ways to compensate. Like the saddle for the low B, I've like moved back really far,
right,
to try to compensate on intonation. And string gauge right now, I'm endorsed by SIT, so I'm using the Carl Sanders, like from Nile, like
sick.
his set. Dude, it is the wildest set I've ever played for any guitar and any tuning.
So what makes it so wild?
Well, so I'm just playing in drop A, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Because I just like having, the low A and the heaviness, but I like, as far as like when I'm going to go do leads or working stuff out theory wise, everything's still in standard tuning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I guess he has the same mentality. So I've got an extra pack here. The gauges, so it's a low 70 for the B string.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, which honestly, even with like the extra tension of the saddle move back and everything, that 70, I'm like, it is beastly, and it's kind of like you can't help but laugh at first. But holy shit, it sounds so good.
Hey man, if it sounds good, then that's literally what it boils down to. And if it doesn't feel like you're playing a fucking steel girder, then yeah, dude, like
right.
Go for it.
And the funny thing, I mean, like you can still like, do like pinch harmonic, like bends, like squeals and stuff with it.
Yeah.
And, like it's still comfortable, but the thing that I find hilarious, not so much like how the low end is, it's a hybrid set. So the high end, your high E is an 8.
From a 70 to an 8.
Yeah,
what
dude.
The fuck?
So you're like, I don't know, like Meshuggah or like Jeff Loomis. I know for like, back early Nevermore stuff for his 7-string, he tuned in B standard. He would put an 80 for his low B. Yeah.
An 80? What was his reasoning for that? That's hard as fuck.
He just liked the sound.
Mate, like I will have to try that. Maybe not on a floating trem because it will probably set the guitar on fire. But
I think he just tracked with it. I don't think he toured like that. I think that was literally just for tracking because he thought it just sounded the best.
Like I tried like a heavier gauge for tracking, and like it helps with the tuning, but sometimes like, I think the tone doesn't translate as well when it's like, I mean, a couple of gauges you're not going to notice it, but if you're going from like a 59 or a 60 to an 80, like that's got to sound really, really different.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with the low end of the set, but this is my first time knowingly messing with like 8s, like that light of a gauge.
See, I play a hybrid on my 6s, but I don't know how light. I don't feel like it goes to an 8. Nah, dude, like mine go to a 9, and a 9 feels like pretty light. So an 8 is like, that's next level. Like I say, man, that's knocked me for 6 from a 70 to an 8.
Yeah. Like if you've ever played one of those 3/4 scale guitars, like the kid guitars.
I've not. I would love one. Like I think Ibanez might like a pink, like gem looking one or something like that. I would love that for the wall. But no, I've never played one.
Well, we got one for my son. It was just a Mitchell, like a cheap one that Guitar Center sells.
Yeah.
And it's wild. It feels like like when you're playing like 8s. Like I think the top 3 strings are 8, 10, and 12. For the 3 high strings, and it feels like you're playing a kid guitar. Like,
well, like you have a kid guitar.
like you have full reign, like doing bends and everything.
Yeah.
I've like you have absolute complete control, which is almost a little weird at first, and you could probably overbend pretty
Yeah, yeah.
easily. But
Good to
yeah,
practice on though, man, and get, see how in control you really are.
yeah, it's wild. I know there are people out there that play with like sevens, but
Doesn't
pretty sure some.
Malmsteen play with like really light strings with scalp frets as well?
Yeah, he plays eights. I'm positive that's why Carl Sanders went with eights, and
Uh-huh. Is he a
because
big fan of Malmsteen?
oh yeah, dude. Like most of the '90s death metal guys love Malmsteen and like '80s shred stuff.
Man, like Malmsteen's great. Like you see some of them videos, like the earlier videos, and like it's fucking unbelievable.
Oh yeah,
Like how good he is.
great sense of melody and harmony too.
Yeah, man, like incredible player, and I love the stuff that he did when he was playing with like Jens Johansson, who's playing on the keyboard. Like, I don't know if you ever listened to any stuff by him before. Like he did an album with so it's Jens Johansson, Anders Johansson, and Alan Holdsworth on guitar. It's called Heavy Machinery.
Oh okay, yeah,
And,
yeah.
dude, it's fucking sick, man. Like, it's really sick. But yeah, dude, like you say, Yingwei is awesome. Very, very good. And he just seems like he's the type of guy that you just like to hang around with because you know he'd have some stories and just kind of like the type of character he is. He'd be interesting to say the least.
And he just kind of exudes like not giving a shit.
Yeah,
So
man, big
you know
time.
he wouldn't sugarcoat anything ever.
Like just kind of like turns up in his old Ferrari, just
Mm-hmm.
like kind of not giving a fuck. Um,
I love
yeah,
that. I love that photo that was circulating for a while, where he was driving around in his Ferrari, shirtless, with his like how old is he? 60?
it must be about that. I mean, I've never seen this picture, but I feel like I need to see it.
He's driving
The
around.
only way I can like try search for it is like Yngwie Malmsteen shirtless in car. Like, what else can I put?
It'd have to be something like that, but it's so hilarious. He's just got like a ball cap on backwards and these big sunglasses, and he's just like the living epitome of not giving a fuck.
I'm looking, but I'm
That and like that interview where he's doing a tour around his like music room, and he just has literal piles of Fender Stratocasters, not lean. They're just like all on top of each other, like piled up.
yeah, because I've seen like some of the stuff that he like the little kind of Instagram videos that he does where he's like talking about some of these different like Fenders. And yeah, man, it's really entertaining. There's like ones he's talking about, like I can't remember specifically, but it was interesting. I can't find the picture, but I did manage to find this one of him laying down this furious kick.
Nice.
Ha! Dude, I'm gonna have to grab my phone charger. It's about to die.
Oh, okay.
I won't be a second.
All right, man. Hey, if anybody has any questions, feel free to submit them down below in the little question button. In the meantime, I'm still trying to find this really hilarious picture of Yngwie Malmsteen. What we got here? Damn it, why can't I find it? I'll have to try to find that photo later and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, man. Sounds like it's one taken straight from his calendar. Do you know what I mean? Like the many moods and emotions of Malmsteen.
I found one really cool one here. Let me see if I can. Can I just like open this up? So there's a. Hang on a second here. Got shit popping up. So there's this really awesome photo of him.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of Rolexes and like just really fancy watches on his strap.
Oh, Malmsteen. Yeah, I bet there's some stories, you know, like if you kind of like played in the band with him or you were just around him in the golden days, I'm sure there's some stories. Because isn't there a thing like he crashed his car or something like that? Or like got badly hurt in it?
I've never heard, but that doesn't even remotely surprise me.
Let's consult the internet. Car accident. Yeah, so like it was in the 80s, I believe. There's a story about it on metalheadzone.com, which gives the ins and outs of it. After Malmsteen crashed his V12 Jaguar to a tree and was in a coma for a week in 1987. And he survived the accident but had nerve damage in his right hand.
Damn.
So that probably explains why. I mean, he's obviously still a monster player, but like there's a before and after kind of thing.
Maybe. I don't know. I do know that there's a couple really good albums where really good sense of melody, and then after a while it's just, I don't know, got more and more tasteless.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've never really kind of like taken a deep dive on his back catalog. I'm just a guy that watches like live videos of him from the 80s, you know.
Right.
And yeah, like if you hit me some recommendations to check out, I will. But I think the thing that put me off is because I've seen a lot of the, you know, you hear a lot of the same kind of licks and sort of ideas from him. And like, there's only so many songs or albums you can take of those kind of instrumental albums, you know.
Well, Rising Force, like, which I think is kind of like his breakthrough album.
Okay.
That one's the good one. I think there's even a track or two with vocals on it. But that one's really good. That one kind of has like his best known songs, like the song Rising Force and what is that? Black Star, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's good. And then the album after that, where I think the cover is like him and then there's like a dragon or something.
Sounds great, man. You know, like,
yeah,
sounds like a virtuoso guitar album cover for sure, if not just a cover from the 80s in general, you know, the golden era, dude. So I'm all for that level of cheesy covers.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
Anything with a dragon or a castle or anything like that. Yeah,
man, count me in with like a caricature of him, maybe like beefed up a little bit. He's kind of like got he's like chest rug exposed. Yeah. He's got all the chains around his neck, and of course there's a couple of ladies under each arm. That sort of thing is the covers that I wanna see, you know.
And wielding a Stratocaster as a weapon, kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. You know, like a bolt of lightning coming out the top of it, or some shit like that. But yeah, we're on the same wavelength there, that's for sure.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll try to burn through a little bit more of these questions. I know you're probably waiting on dinner time too, but
no, it's cool, man. It's like 11:15 here, so if I eat now, I'll probably have a very upset stomach in the night, man. You know, so this is probably stopping me from doing some damage to myself in the kitchen. So it's all good.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about inspiration for like riffing and songwriting with Cognizance. You know, like who would you say you guys tend to draw influence from?
So like from a riffing point of view, like I guess the bands that, I mean, the more extreme bands that are like definitely like a direct influence on the band. Obviously, you can see your classic things like Metallica and Megadeth and that. But you know, honestly, for me, like back in the day, like was really into Black Dahlia Murder. So like I first started listening to them like not long after My Asthma came out, and then when Nocturnal came out, like that album like blew the socks off me, as it did for a lot of people. And that was kind of a really big influence. And then some of the other ones like Epitaph by Necrophagist. You know, I mean, let's face it, a lot of the bands in the tech death arena were all still trying to get close to what they managed with that album. In my opinion, we've not succeeded yet, which we probably shouldn't. Just let that thing be its own beast and its own entity, because yeah, like you can't match that. But definitely when I heard Epitaph, like it was an album that just took a lot of time to kind of like sink in with me, like what they were kind of like doing, and like just the approach to the guitars and the riffing, and that kind of like a lot of like really fast like pedal note sort of like riffs that was just like, and the counterpoint aspect of it as well. You know, it was a very, very intense but melodic album with the speed and the blast beats and the kind of just like odd feels here and there as well. Then with your classic like Yingwei inspired shred for the solos. That getting into the genre was definitely a massive influence. And I think like when I discovered Psychroptic, that was another band that really inspired me. Early Obscura was definitely one as well, particularly the Cosmogenesis record, which is the second album. I really, really like Martyr as well from Canada, particularly Feeding the Abscess. Like that album, like fucking, yeah, blew the nuts off me for sure. And it was kind of like, you know, hearing something that was really techy, but like not techy in like a lots of like blast beat sort of fashion. It had like a lot of kind of jazz sort of harmony and kind of like feel to it, and it was just a really unique approach to riffing. And I still don't really understand how a lot of those ideas came to be. Like, have you ever listened to that album?
Which one was it again?
Feeding the Abscess by Martyr.
I can't think if I have that or not.
Man, you really should. Like, it's I think it maybe came out like mid-noughties, I think. But yeah, dude, it has a really unique vibe to it, and it's just like masterful. So like I would totally recommend checking that out. But these days, you know, like a big influence for me is definitely like Revocation. Again, I love the kind of, at least the last three albums have all been kind of like fucking, you know, monster influences for me, and each one is kind of like got a little bit better in my opinion. So I'm always really stoked whenever they have something coming out, and definitely kind of influences me being able to have that nice mixture of like different metal, like extreme genres. So there's a lot of like kind of thrash in there, there's a lot of death metal in there. It gets kind of like progressive at points, with all like the different kind of like grooves and like just the kind of trajectory of the songs as well. Like they're an unpredictable band, but like the arrangements and like the songwriting doesn't feel really forced. It's really kind of organic. So yeah, I really like those guys. And then another big one for me is like X-Tol. So again, like they don't play like super fast stuff, but just their kind of like approach to like riffs and chord progressions, and again just like taking kind of sounds from outside of the genre, and they have that kind of like Scandinavian sort of like sound to them. Not, you know, when you say that, you're normally thinking of like the Swedish sound, but like the Norwegian bands, or at least X-Toll, have their kind of own colors, to my ears anyway. And then, you know, stuff like The Faceless as well, like when Planetary Duality came out, like that was another one that like really fucking blew my socks off as well. So those guys definitely influenced me. And I guess these days it's kind of, I don't listen to as much metal as I used to, or at least new bands. I listen to a lot of the same old stuff and just kind of like rotate that. But I, you know, take a lot of influence from artists and bands outside of the extreme genre to kind of keep it interesting, you know.
Sure. Somebody commented Death Clock.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That's our singer Henry, and dude, definitely Death Clock. Like, I don't know how I missed that one. Like, I don't know what your thoughts are on Death Clock, and a lot of people think it's a bit of a joke, but the songs are fucking sick.
Dude, I love Brendan Small. I have a
Galacticon. Yeah, man, he's the man.
I have a Galacticon 2 hoodie. But,
sick. Like, I really liked that stuff as well, dude. The Galacticon. But yeah, Death Clock are amazing, man.
Did you get to hear the second Galacticon album?
I remember the one that, in fact, I think the second one didn't really grab me that much. Is that the one that's got like some red on it on the cover?
It's like black and red. And...
Yeah. I might need to take another spin. Like, it might be a bit of a slow burner. But there's one, I think it might be the last song on the first album. It's like like a classic, like Brendan Small sort of like melody and harmony, but there's a chord progression in that like just rips.
I think I know the song you're talking about. I'm trying to remember which Galacticon album that's on.
I'm gonna try to find it right now. But like, in terms of Death Clock, like they use a lot of just really basic major and minor triads, like first position triads, and like, you know, just using a major triad in like a metal context. Like, if you just kind of use it right, it sounds cool as fuck. And like, I definitely ripped that off a lot from those guys for sure. But yeah, I'm not sure how I forgot Death Clock and Brendan Small, but that's definitely one. Galacticon. Which song is it?
They say it's
On My Way. That's the one, I think.
On My Way. That is a really good song.
Yeah, that I've just heard the start. It's definitely that one.
Yeah, that was like, I think that was the first Galacticon song I heard. But man, dude, that second one. So the second one was after he realized that, you know, Metalocalypse will never happen again. So he started actually doing some, like, you know, Nathan Explosion death metal style vocals incorporated into it instead of just clean singing.
What's the best song on
it? The heaviest song is My Name is Murder. But my favorite song is probably The Agenda.
The Agenda. Okay, track 3 and 5.
The Agenda is kind of like a best of for the album. It's got a little bit of everything that he does on the entire album in one song, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to check that out for sure, man. I'm always on the scout to get my fix of that guy's work. Like, I love making of, I think it's the third Death Clock album, the one with the studio video. Have you seen that one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, mate. Such a good watch, dude.
Or the making of the Clock Opera. That one was good.
I don't think I've seen that.
That one's pretty cool.
Have you ever seen them live?
I have.
Really?
Yep. And it was them, Mastodon, High on Fire, and Converge.
That's quite a mixed bag of a bill.
and Mastodon, and they were touring on Crack the Sky, which is still
Sick.
my favorite album from them.
Uh-huh.
And they played that album in its entirety with like a whole movie that went along with it. And then they did some fan favorites. But Death Clock were the headliner, and dude, their show was great. It's
Yeah.
in my top five, like as far as like an actual show or like just a spectacle.
Yeah.
It's like top three actually.
What would you say your other two in the top three were?
Tool and Guar.
You see, my mate asked me or maybe about a month ago, if I wanted to go to the Tool show here next year, and I was like, I'm not that fussed for it, man. But maybe now, from what you've said, like I should have taken him up on it.
I went at an age where I think I was maybe like a sophomore in high school or something when I saw Tool. My dad took me and my cousin.
Mate, they were always the best shows going with a parent because, like,
right?
you felt kind of like out your depth going to it. Do you know what I mean? And like the first few gigs that you go to, like, as long as it's a actually decent gig, like, it's a lot to take in, man.
Oh yeah. I was fortunate enough. My dad was into a lot of that stuff, and he took me to go see Guar.
Sick.
Yeah, he took me in Black Dahlia Murder. He's taken me to some wild shows that I'm sure most people don't go to with their parents.
Yeah, dude. Like well, by the time I'd kind of gotten into like the more extreme stuff, like I was at an age where I didn't need to go with a parent, put it that way. But I'm sure my dad, being the good sport he is, would have taken me. Shout out to Cliff Baillie. But the first show that I went to, he took me, and it was in West Palm Beach, Florida, and it was the Project Revolution tour, which was like Linkin Park, Korn, Snoop Dogg, Less Than Jake, The Used.
Wow.
Funeral for a Friend, and it was like in this amphitheater outside, and like I was a huge Korn fan, and there's a particular selection of albums that are still like fucking great
Sure.
listens, particularly the first one. But that was the first one that I went to, and then I think that the next gig that he took me to was to see Rush, because that was the prog rock, and especially Rush was more his scene, and like kind of for me growing up listening to that, like I was more than happy to go. So that was like the second one that I went to. But yeah, man, like going to gigs with parents, like good times.
Absolutely. I actually kind of enjoy sharing what the first concert I ever went to was. It was my dad. I think the whole family went, and I was definitely like fourth grade.
Fourth grade.
Yeah. And it was Kid Rock.
Kid Rock. Yeah. I'm sure you were far too young to hear some of the bad language at that show.
And he had like dancing girls and cages and stuff, and it was ridiculous.
Mate, I bet that was sick as fuck. I remember we were at Download one year, and I think I'm getting this story right. So Kid Rock was playing, or meant to be playing, so we'd head over to the main stage to go watch Kid Rock. I just wanted to hear him go, Kid Rock! But so he was meant to kind of jump on the stage, and then all of a sudden there was this announcement, and for whatever reason, I think it was something saying like he had to go to the hospital, something like that. So essentially he couldn't play, and it was like, to make up for it, Disturbed are gonna do a twice as long a set, and then like fucking everyone was a bit bummed out. I mean, the Disturbed have got some great tracks, and David Draymond's fucking jokes, mate. Like, You know, he's a funny man for sure. But yeah, I still never got to see Kid.
Yeah. The funnier thing is, I think I've seen Kid Rock 3 times. Most of it was like elementary school, I believe.
Really?
Elementary, early middle school.
And that must be like, were you the one pushing to go and see Kid, or was like someone else in
No,
the family?
no, it was my dad. But I mean, as a kid, I loved it. You know, me and my younger brother. Yeah, that was the funny thing. My younger brother went, so at least the third time he went. So he had to he had to have been like 7 or something.
Like you see when there's like really young kids go to gigs and they're wearing like the ear defenders like
Yeah.
kind of thing. Maybe it was one of those deals. At least you wouldn't be able to hear all this the swearing. But I'd imagine at a Kid Rock show, especially if it was outdoors, like what is that funny smell? In terms of what are these people smoking out here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was wild. I don't recall hearing protection, and they were all at like big civic arenas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my brother, we reminisce back on that. We just kind of laugh at the fact that as children we went to go see Kid Rock, and I think almost every single time, no, like 2 out of 3 times, he had Leonard Skinner and or Hank Jr. with him.
That's fucking incredible.
It's just weird.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's
man.
awesome but weird.
I remember like first getting into like watching like so like in the era of like when MTV actually showed music videos. So like we had Kerrang, which was a channel out here.
Sure.
And that would play like all like rock and metal and stuff. And I remember like for some reason I was always a bit funny about having it on the TV like when my parents were around for whatever reason. But I remember in particular whenever there was a Kid Rock video on, because of all the ladies wearing like skimpy outfits or like in bikinis and things, like I would always be nervous. My parents would walk in and be like, what the fuck are you watching? So I don't, like whenever Kid Rock was on it, I always have it on low volume so I could hear someone coming into the room. But it was that, what song was it? The one that's a rip off of the Sad But True riff.
Oh. Why do I know that instantly? That's kind of embarrassing, but it's American Badass.
Mate, it is a fucking badass track. It's so good, dude. And God knows how he got away with that.
I don't know.
It's Kid Rock, man. Like you probably didn't even need to ask Metallica for permission. But yeah, sure, kid.
And ripped off Anthrax with I think it was the song "Ball with the Ball." Ball with the Ball.
Oh, is that the one where he says, "My name's Kid"?
I think so. I think so. Yeah, American Badass is the Sad But True riff.
Dude, somebody's just commented saying it sounds like Sad But True. I'm gonna have to jam it again now. How can you not know that that's Sad But True, man? Like, yeah, literally note for note, dude. There's a nice little Easter egg there for you if you hadn't realized that.
I mean, in a way, like the old school hip hop, like sampling thing. Sure, I get it, but
yeah,
like, and I guess it's him trying to kind of straddle rock or hard rock and hip hop. But it's weird. It's such a common thing in one world and extremely taboo in the other world, in the other one.
Yeah, exactly.
Jam in
We're
between.
really sensitive about it, man. Like that is a very good point. Like if this was in, like you say, the hip hop genre, no one would bat an eyelid.
Exactly, because mainly most of them probably wouldn't pick up on it anyway. But
that's true.
It's like a lot of times it's like old school R&B or soul that gets sampled.
Yeah, like Regulate is that who is it? Something McDonald, but like I didn't realize, and then when you hear it and you hear and a lot of the time when you hear the original, you're like, wow, the original is actually a fucking great song as well.
Yeah, for sure. I've found a lot of cool songs that way. I'm spacing right now as far as one off the top of my head. But
Man, I'm the same, like on the spot. Like,
yeah,
and as soon as we'll finish this, like all these things, it's like, oh yeah, you should have mentioned this, this, and this. Always comes to you, but
I did think of one. It's not even hip hop, but there was a 70s pop song that got made into a dance song in like the late 90s, early 2000s. So the remix was, oh God, give me just a second. I'm going to find it. I got it, like the melody in my head and everything. Like they took the chorus, Call on Me.
I know exactly what you mean, but I can't remember the dance version now. And it was one of those Eric Prince.
Yeah. And yeah.
Mate, Call on Me. Yeah, it's come back to me. What a fucking great track, though.
Yeah. Steve Winwood, Valerie is the original song and got turned into Call on Me by Eric Prides, however you say that. Yeah.
Mate, Steve Winwood's had some fucking hits, though.
Absolutely.
Put me on high love right now, but anyway, we could literally sit and talk all that stuff for hours for sure.
Oh, sure. But this is what the death metal community tuned in for.
Mate, you know, like I'm sure everyone will agree. You know, like Call on Me is it's a hook. Like you go into a gym, and that's kind of like the song that you would expect to hear in a gym. Do you know what I mean? It's like playing low key in the background. Almost everyone's like running on the treadmill. It's Call on Me.
Me and my buddy were at the gym the other day, and something really cheesy came on. What was it? It was some like cheesy 80s song, and I was like maxing out to it, and then I was like getting all pumped up, and like I was like, I think he was getting ready to take weight off for his. I'm like, no, you do it. like you need.
Yeah, man. Like using it to like, I'm feeling brave today. I'm going a little bit heavier. This song is putting me in the zone. I mean, in the gym that I go to, they play absolute garbage, and the worst thing is, it's like how loud the music is, man. Like it's annoyingly loud, and like, you know, I'll like literally have to wear like my big over-ear noise cancelling headphones, which you get sweaty as fuck, but at least it drowns out the sound of the annoying gym tunes, man. Because like it just annoys you. It doesn't pump you up or anything like that, or at least it doesn't for me.
If you can't max out to Kenny Loggins, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, man, for sure. Like there should just be like a mandatory gym playlist that's like worldwide. There's like a staples that should be played in the gym, you know?
John Farnham, what is that song? Thunder in Your Heart. You know that song?
Thunder in Your Heart.
Yeah, it was originally in some like BMX movie in the 80s. John Farnham, Thunder in Your Heart or something.
I've not heard this. Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah, like if you can't max out to that
tune, if I ever heard it, man. Like I feel like I should be. I mean, not that I have long hair or much hair in general, but I feel like there should be something like blowing my face right now. Anyway, knocking my hair back. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a tune and a half, man.
I need to learn the solo for that one because it's actually pretty sick too.
I mean, from like that kind of era stuff, there was some absolute rippers that were getting in on the action, man.
everybody needed to have an awesome guitar solo in every
Yeah.
song.
And they always had like a tasteful, like fucking dive bomb either in or out of it as well. You know, like that really over the sound. It's like, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. God, what a good era for guitar. But
yeah, man. Yeah, you can't really fuck with it. It just has its own. I do like a lot of the people that like are trying to kind of like recreate that sort of vibe now.
oh yeah. Have
Um,
you checked
but,
out
like,
Marone?
dude, so sick.
Oh, I'm
So sick. Like that first car, there's the song about the car, but that, what's it called?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Mate, it's fucking awesome. This one.
Yeah.
Exclusive coupe.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, so good. And the tones are awesome, man.
Dude,
big fan. Big
do you
fan.
you follow his well, not his, I mean his personal Instagram, sure, but he has another page that he curates called Soft Shred.
Yeah, of course, mate. It's full of gold. Like there's so much shit on there when you just like, I never even knew that existed. Like there was,
right.
I think there was the last one I saw was maybe like this Seymour Duncan amp called like a convertible.
I didn't see that one. I gotta go
That
check.
was like a recent post, but there's some fucking gold on that page. I love like all the really old gear ads.
Oh yeah, I like all of his old Crate and Rocktron stuff that he posts, and
yeah, there was I'm sure there was like a Jackson Phil Collin ad, and it was just, mate, just sick, just such a different era of stuff. I'm sure there's like a awesome Megadeth one that had like Dave and Marty on it as well. But yeah, man, like those days are gone. Like, you know, they still obviously have guitar ads, but I just don't feel they've got that edge anymore.
Right. Yeah, guitar ads are a shadow of what they used to be.
Yeah, man, unfortunately, but maybe it's because we don't have like the big fucking rock stars like we used to. It seems very, very different now. Do you know what I mean? In the era where like, and I'm absolutely not knocking this at all, but like in the era where like it can be a guy on YouTube or an internet guitarist that's like got the sig that's pushing it. Do you know what I mean? And like they're often a very, nothing to do with the playing, but just a different caliber of person compared to like some of these older boys that like literally seem like rock stars, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like total different caliber.
No, I get it. Absolutely. And I guess maybe in a way that's kind of marketing.
Yeah.
If you boil it down, you know, like there's an image, you know, where now, you know, you don't necessarily have to, in a world where companies are looking at the numbers, they're looking at, you know, how to get their product out there the most. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, well, you know, this guy is like me. I got like a little endorsement deal just off of like follower count, you know, and the potential to put product out there.
Well, that's it, because, you know, like you can, if you've got a page of, I don't know, like let's just say maybe you've got a page of 50k followers, like chances are, at least if you play in a death metal band and you do like, I don't know, one tour, you're not going to get in front of 50,000 people unless like it's a really big tour. Do you know what I mean? So like instantly you've got a kind of a reach at your fingertips without actually having to go out anywhere. And, you know, for as far as like return on investment goes, it's like, well, if we give this guy a couple of guitars or even like a big fucking discount on a guitar, and, you know, you're going to get some marketing from him, then like for them, like that's the cheapest like marketing deal that they can get, you know?
Absolutely. And I get it from that perspective, but at the same time, you kind of, it definitely changes the field away from, you know, like the rock stars and all that stuff. And, you know, music in general, I feel like it's kind of gone that way. Like, you know, you said that you guys don't tour a whole lot. I'm friends with Joss Allen,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't tour at all. And his you know, his band is basically him writing and doing some programming on, you know, drums and stuff, and then a vocalist. So it's just a straight up studio act,
Yeah.
and that's become so much more of a thing now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I would say like for us, you probably just say that we were a studio act, you know, like it doesn't, the end result really is the same in terms of like putting out content,
Sure.
like in terms of like albums and stuff. You're dead serious about that, but like you say, it's very commonplace for that these days. And yeah, like I just, for me, touring doesn't really have that much appeal. If I'm being honest, like if I thought it would be straightforward, then I would do it, but I totally wouldn't rely on it for a living. I don't think, unless I like was playing in a much more like commercial form of music. And I think as well, like, and again, this is just me talking here, but like playing a really extreme technical band and like touring that and like just playing that night after night, like I find that pretty exhausting, man. Like at least for my fucking ears, you know, because you're
Yeah.
not just talking about getting through your own set. There's all the other bands that you're touring with playing all this really brutal music, and you know, I'd like be like, I'm timed out on the metal for now. Like,
Yeah, I get it for sure. Um, all most I've done is played at the local to the semi-local, you know, level. Like, yeah, we'll drive out of town for a show, but I haven't like gone on tour for like a week to several weeks at a time.
mm-hmm.
But even playing pretty regular, like, you know, playing, you know, 2 to 3, 4 times a month or something like that, like every week or every other week kind of deal. Even at that, like I found myself not as motivated to play guitar when I was at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I'm already going to be playing at practice, and you know, we got to get together and write, and then we got a show, and it's like you didn't, you know, it not not like it ruins it or anything, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. You can get a little bit burnt out, and like you find yourself listening to literally anything other than the style of music that you're playing. At least I did.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's just about resetting your ears with it. You know, just listening to, imagine touring brutal music, then listening to brutal music and just living and breathing it. Like I'd be like, I'm kind of over this, man. You know what I mean? And like, it reflects in like your, again, this is just me, but like it reflects in the stuff that I'm writing as well. Just doesn't feel quite as like inspired or original. But like when I was in my like 16 to maybe like 18, 19, like I played in a couple of different bands when I was younger, and we were gigging quite frequently. And it's always easier when you're younger anyway, you know, there's like less
Right.
responsibilities, and you're just happier to just kind of go out and do it. But yeah, the older you get, and for me, like I would probably say like I'm not like a huge risk taker, so it's like, well, you know, I've got like a quote unquote normal job, and like why would I go put that on hold to go do some really dicey shit? I mean, I'd love to experience doing like I don't know, like a full European tour or an American tour, but like I like I say, I don't think I could do that all the time. And obviously, you know, in between you have to supplement it with like various different things to kind of, you know, have a stable income. But obviously now, because everyone's on the same page, like that space has become so competitive. And I think like in terms of the amount of content you'd need to put up and just be playing that whole game, and for me, I would just feel like probably creatively exhausted. And I don't know, maybe like if I really got in the zone, like it would work for me. But like I like to have a bit of buffer in terms of like, you know, not have to do it because I need to do it kind of thing. I already find that like when you're on a label and you've got like deadlines to hit and stuff like that, like you do feel like you're on the treadmill then as it is. And I think if I threw in all these other like musical things that I had to get done to like make
Sure.
money or whatever, like I'd be pretty drained of it quickly.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like if you ran a studio when you were at home or guitar lessons or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like I do some teaching now. Like I don't really put out there that I do teach. Like now and again, someone will like kind of just hit me up about it, and it's, you know, I really enjoy it, and I get a lot from it. But like when I finished university, I worked at a music school for like 6 months as a guitar teacher there, and like I was teaching maybe like 60 students a week. And I remember that pretty much any time I had to play guitar, like I was doing lesson prep and learning their songs, and just generally kind of getting in shape for that. And I was just like, man, this is not this is not really what I want to do when I'm picking the instrument up, kind of thing. So I tried that firsthand. I guess if you were like in some massive bands and like people are literally just coming to you to learn what you do, then that's kind of cool because you're talking about what you love. But like having to learn like all these different pieces that you might not really be into and things like that, it takes quite a lot of discipline and commitment to get to that, you know.
I would absolutely say so. I don't know. I'm the kind of person I really enjoy my downtime, and I just kind of need to recharge. You know,
Yeah.
like I'll push myself to like a just almost a breaking point. You know, I'll the old saying, "Don't mind the mule, load the wagon," kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when I finally do get downtime, it's like I just want to be left alone. It's like I just need to chill out. I just want to spend
Yeah,
time
man.
with family and just hang out.
But that's like when you have that and then you get back to like, you know, writing or recording or whatever it is you're doing, like I usually find that that's when your best work is done or your best ideas come out. And like I I don't know, I'm a bit weird about, I get in my own head about it often. Like if I don't pick up the guitar X amount of times a week, or like when I finished work and I've, you know, had my dinner, if I'm not putting in like a bit of time that night, like I feel guilty. But it's like, look, dude, you played guitar for so long. First of all, one fucking night or 2 nights or a week or 2 weeks off the guitar is not really going to make a difference at all.
Yeah.
And you just realize that there's more to life than just like fucking sitting and slaving away on your instrument, you know. And like you say, that absence, just a bit of time away, I always find like you just come up, you just pick up the guitar and your fingers might just go in like a different position or play a different order of notes. And like, oh, that's interesting. And then, you know, kind of just evolves from there, really.
Absolutely. And not to justify, you know, gear acquisition syndrome, but every now and then, you know, when you do pick up a new piece of gear,
Yeah.
sometimes that can kind of revitalize you, and you just have cool ideas, and you play a different way, or you know, it'll just
Yeah.
bring.
No,
You know,
it really does work. Like I think there's a fine line with that. Like if you're
yeah,
changing your rig or your guitars like all the time, like there's something not quite right there in my opinion. But yeah, now and again getting a new toy or whatever can definitely put fuel in the tank, so to speak.
yeah,
Um, Another thing that really works for me is actually taking guitar lessons again. So I've taken some like on and off for like the last few years, like there's a few different people that I've taken lessons with, and like it always helps, and it always, you know, will just, you can learn a little idea and you can get so much from that, and that always like really really inspires me. And you know, you kind of, if you're having a set of lessons, you'll make sure you go away and you work on that between lessons so you don't embarrass yourself, so you kind of commit into it, sort of thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because I took private lessons the first, I want to say 3 years of my playing.
Yeah.
And you know, you do have the motivation. You feel like you got to make it, you know, worth their while and everything.
Yeah, man. There's nothing worse. Like, it's like not doing your schoolwork or your homework kind of thing, but because it's something that you actually want to do, you feel really guilty if you've not kind of like held yourself accountable to work on that.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's like anything, like, you know, turning up to a recording session and you're just like not prepped for it. Like, it just, at least for me, I feel like a fucking clown if I'm not kind of up to.
Oh, your audio cut out there. There you are. I hear you now.
Sorry, man. I was.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Nice.
Okay. Notification or call or something?
Yeah, man.
Okay. All right. Well, man. Okay, sweet. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on the show and everything, man. I know we've been on here a while, but we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Sure.
We'll close this out the way I always close these. We'll do a top 4 death metal bands or albums, whichever's easier for you.
Ooh. May I have a little look at Spotify? Because I always like forget about some. So I can tell you a couple. So like, all right. So Necrophagist, Revocation. Yeah, I'm gonna have to lean on this for a second. I mean, if we're going old school, I'd probably say Black Dahlia Murder. I'd probably put X-Toll in there as well.
Okay.
Just having a look here. And maybe Vader as well.
Sick.
I think I'd put Vader in there, man. Like, I got a lot of time for Vader. Vader rips.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone name Vader or X-Toll on any of their lists so far. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, man. Like, and that's the cool thing about death metal, you know, like I mean, some people maybe wouldn't say X-Toll was. I definitely would. But, like, they're just total chalk and cheese, man. Like, really, really different fucking vibes for sure. But yeah, Vader rips, you know, Polish heroes for sure.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, killer list. And again, I appreciate you coming on here. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, dude. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, dude, I hope you have a good weekend. And everybody, thank you for tuning in. And yeah.
Thank you, man. Take care. Speak to you soon, bro. Bye for now.
Man. See ya.